A man died and was told by the deity that he must go to another world. Otherwise, his soul would be completely lost. The deity gave him no chance to react, directly granting him a bunch of unbelievably powerful skills. This man was named Dios, a regular office worker who only shuttled between his company and home every day. On the surface, this life seemed happy, but deep down, he longed for an extraordinary, adventure-filled life. Yet this wish was fulfilled in the most absurd way. After his death, Dios opened his eyes and found himself standing in a pure white space. The man before him wore a white suit and claimed to be the solar system supervisor. The deity spoke in a mysterious tone, mixed with a hint of self-mockery, making Dios feel strange yet interested. The deity explained that there was a planet called Meidionis, whose civilization had always collapsed time and time again. Someone had to be sent to intervene, and Dios was the chosen one, the key to changing this world. Before Dios could refuse, the deity said coldly, "You are already dead. If you don't go, your soul will disperse completely." Dios was utterly panicked. How could such an important matter be spoken of as casually as a chat? The deity smiled and comforted him, saying, "I will never let you go alone." After saying this, he casually granted Dios the ability to use magic, and even maxed out his magical power. Dios perked up at once, and quickly asked for a cute companion. The deity agreed readily, even giving him an infinite capacity backpack, enhanced detection abilities, various resistance skills, and language proficiency. Finally, as Dios's vision gradually blurred, he was transported to a strange alternate world. He woke up in a forest, his first goal being to find a human settlement. Soon, he spotted a village. With no money on him, he remembered the deity's advice and tried casting a detection spell. At first, there was no reaction, but when he shouted probe, countless glowing spots suddenly appeared on the ground. These spots were exactly the locations of the materials. He then used scan and directly obtained the item's information. On his first attempt at collecting, he unearthed rare B-grade materials. In his excitement, he accidentally picked up a nice-looking stone, only to discover it was C-graded excrement. Dios was at a loss, thinking this world's value system was simply bizarre. He entered the village with a backpack full of materials. A grocery store owner immediately took a liking to the stone, excitedly exclaiming that its shape was perfect, and its color was delightful. He directly paid 5 silver coins to buy it. Dios calculated, 1 silver coin equaled 1,000 reeb, and a night's accommodation cost only 500 reeb. Converted, that pile of excrement was worth 50,000 yen. He was stunned into silence, while the shopkeeper hugged the excrement excitedly and rubbed against it. The scene was utterly ridiculous. Very soon, the shopkeeper gave him a new task, to go to East Mountain to collect mithril ore, with a reward of 360,000 reeb. Though monsters were active there, Dios took the job without hesitation, lured by the money. That night, when he stayed at a hotel, he discovered there was no bathhouse. A waitress told him that only noble magicians could use magic to clean their bodies. Thinking about cleaning himself, Dios tried the clean spell. The dirt vanished instantly, leaving him clean enough to shine. But for a modern person who loved taking baths, this was far from a pleasure. It was a torment. The next day, Dios set off for East Mountain. Along the way, he found an adventurer's remains and buried them solemnly. Then, he cooked a pot of soup using the ingredients he had collected. And for the first time, he truly felt the beauty of life in this alternate world. Not long after, he entered the White Tree Forest, a place said to be teeming with monsters. Yet, the surroundings were strangely quiet. The deity even joked, "Maybe you're too smelly. You've scared all the monsters away." He lit a magical light, quickened his pace to leave the forest, and, because he wasn't paying attention, fell off a cliff. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he activated his flying ability and avoided danger. Guided by the magic probe's response, he blew a path open deep into the mountain. At the end of the path, he found a small amount of mithril ore. Unwilling to give up, he continued exploring further, and eventually discovered a magnificent underground lake. The lake's water was crystal clear, and the scan's results showed it was SS-grade, underground magic water. Just as he was about to take a sip, a commanding voice rang out, questioning his identity as an intruder. Dios paid no attention, drinking a large mouthful on his own. The next second, the lake's waters surged, and a black dragon emerged from them. Under the dragon's pressure, Dios immediately acted on his office worker instinct, kneeling down and apologizing profusely. The black dragon was initially angry, but soon was drawn to the powerful magic within Dios. Originally, due to the stagnation of magical elements in the lake, its dragon egg couldn't hatch. It hoped to use Dios's immense magical power to bring its child to life, and in return, it offered a large piece of mithril magic stone. The black dragon explained that all it needed was magic injected into the egg. Dios looked at the enormous dragon egg and casually cast a heating spell. He tried to inject magic, but the dragon egg greedily absorbed it, so much so that his body was drained completely dry. Just as he despaired, the mysterious deity suddenly appeared to save him. then sneered, "Your cute companion has finally arrived." The words had barely left his mouth when the dragon egg cracked open. A small, dark, sticky dragon jumped out, rushed into Dios's arms, and licked him frantically, smelly, sticky, and covered in slime. This was their idea of a companion. The black dragon asked Dios to name it, and Dios casually called it Bee of Black. The black dragon accepted the name with satisfaction and entrusted the young dragon to him. It believed that Dios, whose power surpassed its own, was the best person to raise the young dragon. Just like that, Dios, who had only just arrived in this alternate world, not only earned a substantial reward, but also gained a smelly little dragon companion. He held the little dragon helplessly, sighed, and said, "Before I even start my adventure, I need to give this little guy a bath first." One man and one dragon finally escaped the dark underground cave and breathed the air of freedom again. The forest under the night felt unsettling, so Dios decided to camp right there. For a newborn dragon, the night was far too dangerous. After settling down, he pulled out a cup from his pack, and in the next moment, a flash of magic lit up the air. It turned out the old dragon had magically linked his item box to the underground lake of mana. That meant the baby dragon's food supply would never run out. It was sacred water rich in magic, a treasure essential for raising a young dragon. Watching the dragon drink so happily, Dios couldn't resist taking a sip himself. The gentle sweetness washed away every trace of exhaustion from his soul. Then he placed 3 magic stones, whispered a chant, and a glowing barrier rose around them. Water was handled. Now it was time for food. The book said magic stones were rare, strategic resources in this world, but he realized that with a bit of focus, he could solidify his mana and create red heating stones with ease. What others saw as priceless gems were nothing but camping stoves to him. Soon, a pot of savory meat soup filled the air with its irresistible aroma. He took a bite and couldn't help but sigh. He could easily finish 5 bowls of this. The baby dragon, tempted by the smell, reached in for a taste and yelped as it burned its tongue. Dios couldn't help but laugh, both helpless and amused by the clumsy creature. After dinner, he noticed that although the dragon was only ranked B, its potential was limitless. He warned it not to use its powers recklessly. If something happened, he'd never be able to face its father. But before he could finish, the dragon was already fast asleep. Looking at the sleeping reptile, Dios sighed. He had wanted a cute companion, but somehow ended up as a parent. The next morning, the once dark forest had turned calm and peaceful. He activated his scan skill, planning to collect materials. A few monsters in the distance caught his attention. Instead of fear, excitement filled him. Those were sources of high-grade materials. Compared to the ancient dragon he once faced, these beasts were nothing more than kittens. Since the prey came knocking, there was no reason to refuse the gift. He raised his shield and summoned a storm of ice spikes. The spikes pierced through the air, hitting their mark. One perfect piece of meat secured. But danger followed. A pack of wolves burst from the trees, tails glowing with venom. Unfazed, Dios activated his speed and lightness spells. His body became weightless, leaping high as power gathered in his limbs. In the next heartbeat, he crashed down, crushing a wolf beneath his feet. The rest never stood a chance. They were shredded one after another. After the brief battle, he stood unharmed, surrounded by spoils and materials. Yet the monsters seemed endless. This couldn't go on. The dragon sensed his thoughts and swooped down, ready to carry him away. Dios cast lightness again, and together, they shot into the sky. But the little dragon misjudged its power. It flew too high, too fast. The next moment, they came crashing down, right onto last night's campsite. Woken by the dragon's slobbery lick, Dios scolded it to control its strength, but the dragon took it as praise and tackled him with excitement. After the chaos, they set off once more. On the way, the dragon breathed mana onto a dead branch, reviving it into a glowing magic staff. Dios muttered that a material collector shouldn't carry a flashy staff, but still kept it anyway. Just then, a rustle came from the bushes. He followed the sound cautiously and found a blonde elf collapsed beneath a tree. Thinking she'd been attacked, he approached, but the only sound was her stomach growling. Turns out, the poor elf hadn't eaten for 3 days. Sighing, Dios pulled out a homemade lunchbox. The elf devoured it instantly, moaning that the taste was heavenly. Dios rolled his eyes. "Anything tastes divine when you're starving," he muttered to himself. This elf wasn't just gluttonous, she was also hopelessly lost. Even worse, she carried a strange smell. He bluntly called it compost perfume. The elf stormed off in anger, leaving Dios half laughing, half speechless. After leaving the forest, the dragon suddenly perked up at the sound of wagon wheels. A carriage approached, carrying a family of 4. They warmly invited Dios to ride along. The children inside curiously asked if he was a wizard. Dios quickly denied it, insisting he was just a material collector. But the kids adored him anyway, calling him the tall and funny big brother. The mother smiled and said their village's rule was simple: help each other when in need. Her words warmed Dios's heart. She showed him a magic bell that rang when someone held ill intent. Dios realized that in this world, even kindness had its own magic. At the children's request, he summoned the baby dragon. As its wings spread wide, the whole family gasped in awe. The father immediately recognized him, a dragon rider, symbol of glory and power. Dios awkwardly explained that he had just found the egg by accident. The man explained that dragon riders were among the rarest beings alive. Dragons themselves were symbols of trust and reverence. As night fell, Dios decided to cook dinner to thank the family. He opened his item box, revealing ingredients and tools that left everyone speechless. Soon, a feast was ready. The children ate with pure joy, praising every bite. The father took a bite, and tears streamed down his face. They had survived on dry rations for weeks, and the warmth of this home-cooked meal broke him completely. He called Dios, the magician of taste, and laughter filled the air. Watching them, Dios remembered his past life, eating cold dinners alone. He finally understood, the true flavor wasn't in the food, but in the company. And in that moment, his smile was the most genuine it had ever been. Follow for more. This journey has only just begun.